Stephen Romay is the Australian's film critic, and he's joining us to talk about Together, which he's reviewed. His review is live now at theaustralian.com.au. Stephen, how many stars did you give Together?
Hello, Claire. Thanks for having me. I gave Together 3.5 stars. Close to 4, but I went with 3.5 in the end.
It's something called body horror. What is that?
Well, body horror, as the name suggests, is when the horror of the film is connected to the body, but not necessarily in the slasher film way where the body is chopped up by Freddy Krueger's sharp hands or something like that. It's more about the change to the body of the characters. So in Together, for example, the two main characters, Tim and Millie, who are played by the married couple, Dave Franco and Alison Brie, head off to somewhere in the nowhere of America because she gets a job as a teacher. One thing leads to another, and suddenly their bodies start sticking together. It very first happens in a cave after they go on a hike and get lost, and they wake up in the morning and their legs are stuck to each other. From there, the story develops and they're a couple, so you can imagine that other bits of their bodies are going to get stuck together. So the question is, what's happening here? Is it just the change of atmosphere? They're in the country and they're a bit more sticky? Or is it something supernatural? Or is it something to do with one of the characters?
It feels like it might be slightly metaphorical as well. Anyone who's travelled with their partner has had that feeling of needing to get away.
It is completely metaphorical. That's a good point. Because what this film does so well is it takes common relationship issues and morphs them into a horror film.
Do you love each other?
Maybe we're just complacent.
This is based on the director's life. His name is Michael Shanks. He's a New Zealand-born, Melbourne-based filmmaker. This is his first film. He's been with the same partner since they met during schoolies.
How romantic.
Very romantic indeed. And so each of them have never had an adult relationship with anyone else but each other. And so he's based this film on his own experience as someone who more or less has lived with another adult in a romantic way from the time he was old enough to do so.
Do you feel like horror is going to be a genre that Michael Shanks keeps working on? Is that somewhere where Australian film is going as well?
This is the latest film in a fairly recent growth in Australian filmmakers leaving their bloodied fingerprints over the horror genre. We all know now of the Philippou brothers from Adelaide, Danny and Michael, who have had 2 films so far, Talk to Me and Bring Her Back.
Australia's got a great heritage of, I don't know if you would call this horror, but certainly scary films. I've never recovered from Wake in Fright. Is it something we do particularly well, do you think?
Wake in Fright is, in my opinion, the best Australian film yet made. Now, is it a horror film? No. It's a film about a city school teacher going and having to live in the country for a while.
That is quite scary.
There is a horror story. When I think of Australian horror films, I would go more towards, say, Wolf Creek, because it's not a supernatural horror film, but it is about someone mad killing people. And yes, we're very good at that. And I think it's good that our filmmakers sort of have their own way of doing it. This film, Together, for example, I wouldn't call it a horror film. I would call it a psychological thriller.
Together is the latest film to be embroiled in a plagiarism drama. In May, the creators of a movie called Better Half, which came out in 2023, took aim at the team behind Together, saying the movie was a blatant rip-off of Better Half. Although the movie genres differ, both films hinge on the same concept, lovers' bodies fusing together via a supernatural force. The creators of Together have pushed back. They say their work is not remotely similar. Lawyer Nicholas Jampol, acting on behalf of the Together team, also added that Together director Michael Shanks registered a draft script of Together with the Writers Guild of America in 2019, 2 years before production started on Better Half. The plaintiffs say there are other similarities too. They claim both films feature the song Two Become One by the Spice Girls and reference a work by ancient Greek philosopher Plato called The Symposium.
The tricky bit here is that Better Half was offered to Dave Franco and Alison Brie, and they said no. Their lawyers have gone quite hard in response. They've said that the people behind Better Half are, quote, drumming up 15 minutes of fame for a failed project. But look, I haven't seen this Better Half, so I think it's one of those we will just have to let the lawyers sort it out. This idea of plagiarism in Hollywood or plagiarism in filmmaking is not new by any means. James Cameron, for example, gets accused of plagiarism all the time. He was accused of plagiarism for Avatar, more or less saying he ripped off some Russian sci-fi novels. That never really went anywhere. He was accused of plagiarism for the very first Terminator. An American science fiction writer, Harlan Ellison, said that he'd stolen his ideas. Now, that one was settled out of court in Ellison's favour, and he was subsequently credited in the film credits. Mostly when these plagiarism allegations are raised, the studios simply settle them out of court. Rather than go through the process of a hearing.
And that isn't necessarily an admission of wrongdoing, is it?
It's not. No, it's not. It's simply making the complainant go away with money.
We see accusations of plagiarism across the arts a lot. Ed Sheeran is someone who's frequently finding himself having to defend his music. What about in film as a form of art? What's your view of the way ideas make their way to screen? And it's not, as you say, that outlandish that two people might have a similar idea at the same time.
Just on music, I saw a funny story a few days ago where Billy Joel was talking about how he thought the Beatles' White Album was terrible, and all of the comments that I saw online following said, Billy Joel, every single song you've written was inspired by the Beatles and you're terrible. I don't know if that's plagiarism or not. In films, it is probably a trickier terrain because, say in literature, if you plagiarise somebody else's writing, the words are on the page. It's quite clear that you've lifted them from somebody else's work. With film, there is the debate over, can two people have the same idea at the same time?